Coming up here on the San Francisco 49ers Report, some good news on the horizon for Niner fans looking ahead to the 2025 season. San Francisco over the weekend signing a tight end, a familiar face to the faithful. And why did San Francisco do what they did in the NFL draft? It's all coming up right now. My name is Chase Sr. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report. And as always, no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. Hope you all had a fantastic weekend. You had a lot of fun, and your weeks are off to a very good and productive start. Let's start off here. Think about what went wrong for the San Francisco 49ers in 2024. Well, coming off that heartbreaking Super Bowl defeat to the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 58, the Niners spent $334.5 million in cash, the most among all 32 teams in the NFL. And what happened? They went 6-11 and missed the playoffs. San Francisco, also in the process of that disastrous 2024 campaign, they were riddled with injuries. And we're talking about injuries to all types of different players. Stars, veterans, young players, rookies, all across the board. The Niners could not escape the injury bug. I thought the coaching in all three phases stunk. Kyle Shanahan had one of his worst offensive coaching seasons of his head coaching career. Nick Sorensen, in over his skis at defensive coordinator. He was let go and fired. And Brian Schneider led one of the worst special teams units in the NFL. And when you have bad coaching in all three phases, it leads to porous offensive play, bad defensive play, and special teams play, which was head-scratching. And notably, offensively, it also resulted in Brock Purdy having a very up-and-down, frustrating season. The Niners also, didn't make matters any better, choked and lost a lot of close games, especially inside the NFC West, where they were awful in in-division games. And then, toward the end of the year, it seemed as though everybody gave up. Everybody was hurt. The coaching was poor. And then the play and late-game, late-season execution went out of the window, and it led to a pretty ugly late-season collapse for San Francisco. All of that is full of negatives, right? The positive, though, of finishing last inside the NFC West is that the Niners have the luxury, looking ahead to 2025, of having a fourth place, last in your division schedule. And so now when you look ahead to the 2025 campaign, as the Niners look to rebound from that 6-11 season, they are going to have a much easier go as far as their schedule. And with the current construction of this team and the changes that they've made, the players that they've lost, and the coaches that they've brought in, I think the Niners need this. They have a new defensive coordinator in Robert Saleh, who, yes, is a familiar face, but he's going to bring new wrinkles, new play calling, and a new defensive philosophy to the Niners. And then San Francisco in the draft, they went defensive heavy, and they could be relying on 4 to 5 rookie starters from this draft class. And so they have a youthful defensive unit and an inexperienced defensive unit. Having an easier schedule will allow them to get acclimated with the physicality, the speed, and the overall life of the NFL. The Niners also have completely remade their special teams unit. One of the points of emphasis in free agency and also in the NFL draft, bringing in a lot of players who have a lot of special teams experience. Even the offense is going to see some tinkering. Brandon Ayuk, not going to be around. Deebo Samuel, he's in Washington. Christian McCaffrey is back. And so within that offense, as far as personnel goes, it's going to look a little bit different. And then on that coaching staff, there were also some changes. And that all leads me to this. Sharp Football Analysis coming out with this graphic. It is the 2025 NFL strength of schedule based on Vegas forecasted win totals. This is new information considering what has happened in free agency and in the NFL draft because win totals have changed. They've fluctuated because betting markets are always changing. And so look at who is at number one as having the easiest schedule by a wide margin in the NFL this upcoming season. The San Francisco 49ers. Again, this is based on the forecasted win totals according to the odds makers in Vegas. And the Niners win total right now, 10.5. One of the highest marks in the National Football League. The Niners' strength of schedule in 2024, for instance, ranked 28th, meaning it was one of the hardest in the NFL. So the 5 easiest schedules for this upcoming season: Niners at 32, or in this case, the number 1 easiest schedule. New England Patriots after that, they were bad last year. New Orleans Saints, also an awful football team. The Atlanta Falcons at 4, and then somehow the Buffalo Bills, even though they made it to the AFC Championship game, they have the 5th easiest schedule in 2025. The 5 hardest schedules this season. The New York Giants have the number 1 most difficult schedule, despite them having the number 3 overall pick in this year's NFL draft. The Cleveland Browns, as we know, they moved back with Jacksonville as the Jags moved up, but they had the 2nd hardest schedule in the NFL. You expect to see a team like the Detroit Lions there because they're one of the top teams in the NFL a year ago. The Philadelphia Eagles, of course, dump trucking the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Minnesota Vikings there rounding out the 5 hardest schedules for 2025. And then furthermore, we're not sure when these games will happen. We just know who the Niners' opponents are for 2025 about midway through this month is usually when the NFL schedule releases, and I'm excited for that because then we'll know the exact Niners schedule, preseason and regular season. The home games for the Niners at Levi's, the site of Super Bowl 60, by the way, in Santa Clara, you have the divisional opponents: Cardinals, Seahawks, Rams. Outside of the division, Falcons, Panthers, Jaguars, Titans, Bears, all making their way to Northern California to play the Niners for a Niners home game. The Niners will then travel to Cardinals, Seahawks, Rams, and then outside of the division, they're playing the NFC South this year: Saints, Buccaneers, Texans, Colts, Giants, and Browns. And so you also have the AFC South included in these divisional foes for San Francisco. So for those hoping for a bounce-back season, and I know a lot of you have your hopes diminished and down considering the players who the Niners have lost, what they did in the draft. They still didn't address the offensive line. Warren Sharp's models, and it's not just this year, they have suggested that when you have an easier schedule, there is a good chance that you will bounce back and have a winning season. And so I think this Niners team is going to look a little bit different. I think there could be some growing pains. One thing I think is going to be clear: they are going to be a better coached team. Offense, defense, special teams. They're going to have some new juice. They're going to have some new athleticism. They're going to have some youth, and that youth movement is going to be really exciting to watch and monitor. And then there's also, this is part of this equation, right? The betting odds haven't really shifted or changed that much for the Niners to win the NFC West. They're the favorites to win this division. Their Super Bowl odds, they've been hovering within the top 6. And obviously, the odds makers, that's all predicated on them winning a lot of money. And so they think that the Niners have a good chance of winning the division and being in the running to compete for a Super Bowl. Does that translate to fans being more positive about this year? Well, that's why I ask you this poll question. It'll also be the pinned comment on today's 49ers Report. You see it right below me. So go on down and predict for me. How many games will the Niners win in 2025? Let me know down in the comment section. Still to come, Niners signing a tight end over the weekend, bringing back a familiar face who is going to bring some blocking value to this Niners offense. And why did the Niners do what they did in this draft? A former scout and NFL analyst had something to share on that I found to be interesting. Before we do all of that, I want to give a shout out to today's sponsor, Brunt, for sending me these awesome work boots. And A lot of you might look at me, hear me talk, and say, Chase, you're a pretty boy. You're on camera. You talk about the NFL. Actually, I like to get my hands dirty. I like to get it out of the mud. And I actually love woodworking. Back in high school, that was my favorite class. I love building things, creating things, and turning projects into something that you can have forever and be proud of. I like making things for other people to see their face light up. It's better than shopping for something cheap on Amazon that comes from a foreign country. How about me, myself, Chase Sr.? I just make it myself. So after my mom passed away, she had told me before she passed, anytime you see a butterfly, I want you to think of me. So I made this table in memory of her. Bought all of the parts, sanded it down a few times, put a couple of coats of stain on there, some polyurethane so no watermarks would be on the tabletop. And then, of course, I had to wood burn that butterfly on top. And now I have it in my room, and it's in memory of my mom. So I like to do a lot of hard work. And choosing work boots used to mean sacrificing comfort or durability. If they felt good, they didn't last. If they lasted, they wrecked your feet. Well, Brunt Workwear finally ended that trade-off, designing boots to withstand the toughest job sites while feeling as comfortable as your favorite sneakers. Another thing about me, just wrapped up a 700-day running streak. I need to treat my feet nice. I can do that with my new Brunt work boots. Founder Eric Girard grew up blue collar, and he started Brunt after his friends in the trades encouraged him to start a workwear brand that was really built for them. That's why all Brunt products are named after the guys he grew up with. Pretty cool. These might be the most comfortable work boots on the planet, but they also deliver real performance on the job. Whether you need waterproof, safety toe, or soft toe, pull on, or lace up, they have you covered. They're so confident these boots will blow you away that they even let you try it on the job risk-free. And for a limited time only, our listeners, our viewers, get $10 off by using our code CHAT at bruntworkwear.com/chat. You use that code, you're all set. And after you buy them, do us a favor. When they ask you where you heard about Brunt, tell them that Chase Sr., the 49ers Report, and Chat Sports sent you. We'll put that link down below in the comment section, attached to the pinned comment, and in the show notes. Again, Brunt, $10 off. Use our code CHAT. A roster move that took place over the weekend, the Niners bringing back tight end Ross Dwelley on a one-year deal. He spent the first several years of his career playing for the 49ers. And then he signed with the Atlanta Falcons, where he played last year. And now he comes back to San Francisco. And a lot of you might be saying, Chase, he doesn't catch passes. Why are the Niners making this move? Well, for a couple of reasons. He is a very good blocking tight end. He can contribute on special teams. The Niners did not draft a tight end in this draft. Then they locked up George Kittle, but tight end depth was a little bit of a need. And I think immediately Ross Dwelley comes back to the Niners as a good friend to George Kittle as the Niners tight end 3. They signed Luke Farrell in free agency. He's one of the top blocking tight ends in the NFL. We saw last year short yardage along the goal line in the red zone when the Niners needed to run it. They couldn't. And that was due to a lot of reasons. The offensive line not being good enough. That, of course, still a concern for me. But some of their backup tight ends, Eric Saubert or Braden Willis, not good enough blockers. And so the Niners have really fortified that position in that regard. You have George Kittle, who's an excellent pass catcher, the best all-around tight end in the NFL. And then you have Luke Farrell, who can catch it a little bit, Ross Dwelley, who can catch it a little bit, but they are going to be fantastic blockers. And if the Niners want to go heavy, they have some flexibility and versatility for how they want to do that. They, of course, still have Jake Conchus, who had a good training camp in preseason last year, and Mason Pline, who has a lot of athletic upside as a former basketball player. George Kittle, very happy about this news, sharing this photo on social media over the weekend. He's just holding the face of Ross Dwelley and then gave him that emoji there after Dwelley decided to come back to the Niners. And again, I think he immediately becomes the third-string tight end for San Francisco. All right, let's round out with this. Why did the Niners do and accomplish what they did with this 2025 draft class? That, of course, is headlined by the rookie Mykel Williams, defensive end, excellent run stuffer, could he win Defensive Player of the Year? That's part of this conversation that I do want to have here. Ben Solak of ESPN sharing some thoughts on Mykel Williams. And he has Williams as one of his favorites to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. Here's what he said. That leaves us with the Georgia alums. Mykel Williams joined the Niners at pick number 11, and Jalen Walker was taken by the Falcons 4 picks later. These are my 2 favorite players to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. They play the splashiest position, edge rushers, have won the award in 5 of the past 6 years. They have very little competition for snaps. Williams needs to fend off only Yetur Gross-Matos and Drake Jackson to get opportunities opposite of Nick Bosa, while Walker might be the top edge rusher on an Atlanta defense featuring Leonard Floyd and Arnold Ebiketie, plus fellow rookies James Pierce Jr. Or fellow rookie James Pierce Jr. I agree with that thought, right? Mykel Williams in the pre-draft process, when scouts or teams would question why his sack numbers were low, he said, I was playing out of position at Georgia. I played my role. I did what they asked of me. But at the NFL level, if I'm playing the position that I'm most comfortable in playing, that will lead to good sack numbers. That's number 1. If the sack numbers are good, he has a good chance of winning Defensive Rookie of the Year. Number 2, Solak is right. He doesn't have a lot of competition at that defensive end spot. Drake Jackson, we're not sure if he's going to play. He hasn't been able to come off that patellar tendon injury. And then Yetur Gross-Matos, Sam Okuanu, they shouldn't serve as good and viable competition to Mykel Williams. So he's going to play a lot. He's going to be excellent against the run. And if the sack numbers go up because he plays a more natural position compared to what he did at Georgia, that could lead to a lot of production. Which then leads me to this. Why did the Niners do what they did in the NFL draft? Why was their plan their plan? Well, I think that Niners defensive line that we just showed you, it features 3 rookies. I think those 3 rookies will and should start for San Francisco in 2025. And that's part of the reason why the Niners did what they did. They wanted to remake and rebuild the defensive side of the ball. They wanted to recapture the identity that has been missing on that side of the rock the last couple of years. Robert Saleh's influence, as I've always said, is all over this draft class. And they wanted to get back to the basics. That's what Bucky Brooks said of NFL Network. He said John Lynch and the Niners sent a clear message in this draft, getting back to the basics, going back to what the formula has been for them to be successful, which is dominating on the defensive side of the ball. In Mykel Williams, you've got a power rusher that's going to be able to get after it. He's going to bring the energy. And even though he's still raw and unrefined, putting him opposite of Bosa, he's going to be able to clean up his game. And I think being opposite of Nick Bosa, number 1, is going to help Mykel Williams be a better pass rusher because Nick Bosa is an absolute student of the game. He is so refined, always has a plan, and is always in the lab looking to work. I also think the Niners wanted to load up defensively because they have confidence in Kyle Shanahan, Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Trent Williams, Dominic Pooney, Brandon Ayuk when he comes back, to be a pretty solid offensive unit, but they need to be better defensively to play more complementary football. And then you think about the other picks who the Niners made, right? Bucky Brooks on a player like Alfred Collins. He said, going inside, getting the big man from Texas and Collins, he's somebody who can stop the run at the point of attack, being able to just get beefier on the inside when you think about those classic, inventive Niners teams under Kyle Shanahan. It's because they've been able to dominate. Add in C.J. West and Nick Martin, some of the other guys. This is a defense that is young, athletic, and it should be dominant real quickly as they begin to get back on track. I think the Niners, in getting after the quarterback as far as their pass rush, might struggle a little bit. But that might be neutralized to a certain degree because they're automatically going to be better against the run. And all of the players who they took, they all have a history of stopping the run, which in turn can help your pass rush and your secondary. So maybe next year, San Francisco will finally address the offensive line with the 10 projected picks that they have as of right now. But for this year, it was all about the defense and fixing what has been a porous rushing defense. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I'll be back a little bit later for another show here on the Niners Report. Be on the lookout for that. and we'll see you soon.